5 Live Breakfast, and it's 8:38. A theme at least one of guests in the studio very, very familiar with, Dr. Chris Lintott, who is a presenter of The Sky at Night. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Talking about this, of course, because thousands of people have taken to social media sites to leave their tributes to Sir Patrick Moore, who's died at the age of 89. We can speak to the Queen guitarist and astronomer Brian May as well, who was friends with Sir Patrick. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for joining us. And
it's a pleasure. And to join Chris as well. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Brian.
And also the impressionist Jon Culshaw. Morning to you, John.
Good morning. Very poignant to hear The Sky at Night.
Oh, yeah. We both got a bit tearful, I'm afraid. Yeah. That music is Patrick, isn't it?
Yeah. And John, the reason we're speaking to you, you took part in the 700th edition of The Sky at Night. You had known Sir Patrick Moore for some time as well, hadn't you? Just how will you remember him?
Well, he's the man who got me interested in astronomy, and I think anybody who's taken up astronomy in the last 50-odd years, chances are it was Patrick who got them inspired and got them started. And, you know, you think of astronomy, you think of Sir Patrick Moore, and that's how I'll remember him.
Yeah, it seems extraordinary, doesn't it? I mean, I was saying earlier on, I remember when I sort of grew up in the same part of the world as Sir Patrick Moore, and I remember when I was playing football in Chelsea, probably as about a 16-year-old, Brian May, and I remember going down there and someone saying, you know, this is where Sir Patrick Moore lives. And even as a 16-year-old, there I was thinking, oh, that's pretty interesting. You know, interested in a TV astronomer, which says something, doesn't it?
Yeah, he just ignited everybody's imagination, didn't he? A unique, absolutely unique man.
And how did you get to know him, Brian?
Oh, well, I met him first when I was at college doing astronomy, but it was a quick meeting, and I don't think we had that much to say to each other because I was just a very poor student. But we met much later doing a radio show, strangely enough, where Patrick was playing himself, and my very good friend Dirk Maggs had written the script and was producing it. I'd made the music for the radio piece, and we hit it off, strangely enough, in that situation, and the astronomy sort of came later, in a sense.
And in terms of, you know, the time you spent with him, give us an idea of his manner away from the TV. You just get the impression that he was exactly the same on as he would have been off.
He really was. He really was that amazing, larger-than-life character. We were just talking, John and I, and he was incredibly stubborn in the most delightful way. I mean, you didn't bother crossing swords with Patrick because he knew what he wanted, knew how to get it, and he wasn't going to brook any sort of refusal for anyone. And, yeah, very irascible, but, you know, the most amazingly creative and unbelievably generous.
And Chris Lintott, you know, you presented the show many times with Sir Patrick Moore as the co-presenter of The Sky at Night. You're nodding your head to a lot of what's being said here. Various people have said, this is the guy that got me into this. This is the man that pushed me in this direction. Was that true for you?
Yeah, me too. A lecture when I was 12, and he talked about what we didn't know about the universe. And I think that's key to Patrick as well. He was always amused and fascinated by the unknown as well. Like you can hear him saying, well, we just don't know, to pretty much anything that anyone said to him. He was an arch skeptic, didn't let professional scientists get away with skating over the subject because he wanted to understand what was going on as well. And I think because he'd built up that trust with the audience, when he said, I'm going to tell you about black holes, the whole country went, yes, I've always wanted to know about black holes. If I say it, or even Brian or John say it, then everyone goes, oh, I never understand this stuff. But Patrick could cut through that.
And he also seemed to appreciate this, the role he had in terms of being an inspiration for people in terms of astronomy as well. The countless of people on social networking sites and what have you saying, I wrote to Sir Patrick Moore and I got a reply. It must have just been a constant correspondence that he was dealing with.
All typed out. You have to imagine a 1908 typewriter looked like something off a film set being typed with 2 fingers at 90 words a minute. I have a postcard for him. I was just looking last night, and it just says, Chris, yes, Patrick. And I was 14 when I got that. I couldn't remember what the question was. But at least he replied.
It's very good. Jon Culshaw as well. I mean, we were saying, he's a man, he was an entertainer himself, wasn't he, on the xylophone, as we know. Let's just play this. This is excellent. A clip of you working with Sir Patrick last year, and see if you can tell the difference.
Okay.
Have a go.
Sir Patrick. Oh, are we a sir now?
I am now, but I wasn't then.
No, I'm looking forward to that. Excellent.
Yeah.
Sir Patrick, if you were offered by NASA, would you swap your 700 programmes in return for a one-way trip to Mars?
No, a two-way trip might be different, but a one-way trip definitely. I'm fascinated by Mars, but it's not the place I want to stay to for very long, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the right answer.
Fantastic. We're going to miss Patrick's voice so much, but we have Jon Culshaw who can do him
Yes,
incredibly well.
He would always love it whenever we did that. He would sort of like play up to, the Patrick persona. It made him sort of step out of himself a little bit more like that. And so many of his talents aside of astronomy, musician, composer,
Cricketer.
Yes, cricketer, absolutely. And he just had a great sense of being an entertainer as well as his love of science.
And actually, in terms of his enthusiasm, I was reading on occasion he could talk at 300 words a minute, which would be tricky, John, I would have thought, to replicate that.
You wouldn't get them all, though.
No, indeed. And Brian May, just finally, I mean, in terms of, we can talk about what he was like in terms of his television appearances and all the rest of it, but he was a man whose research was used by the Russians, it was used by the United States for their space programs as well.
Yes.
A very highly respected man.
Yes, his pure research, particularly on the moon, of course, on which he was a total expert, is legendary. And Patrick was really different from anyone else you'll ever meet as an astronomer. There's some great astronomers around, but Patrick, if you ask him about one particular crater, he will know all the figures, and he said he won't be consulting them in a book. He would be saying, yes, of course it's 100 miles wide and it's a mile deep. If you walk down here and you turn right, you get to the Great Wall. It was like he knew the universe like the back of his hand, and you don't get that. I don't think there will ever be another Patrick Moore in that sense.
And he always had the humility to consider himself to be an amateur astronomer.
Absolutely.
He always felt on the side of everyone else who was looking up at the skies with him.
Well, look, I know we could talk for a lot longer, but we've got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed to all of you. It's Brian May, Jon Culshaw, and thanks to you as well, Dr. Chris Lintott, co-presenter for many, many times with Sir Patrick Moore on the Sky at Night. It is 8:45 right now.